everybody, this is Michael with Prep Pizza. We're in Orange Beach on our family kind of holiday getaway, and I wanted to show you that it doesn't matter where you are or what you do, you can still make amazing pizza. You don't have to have fancy pizza ovens to do it, and so what we're going to do is we're going to make our dough kit and make kind of a beach style pizza here today. Take a look. Okay guys, so we've got our dough kit, which we can make amazing pizza dough with, and we're going to be able to make 4 large pizzas today or 6 medium pizzas if we wanted to. The only things you need for our kit to make it is simply water, the mixing bowl, spoon, and I've got something to cover the bowl with. First thing I'm going to do is open up the package. We got our kit open, and in the contents of the kit, just a couple of things. So there's a bag with a P on it. That stands for Poolish. There's semolina in here with an S on it. We're gonna save that for later because we're gonna use that when we stretch out our dough. There's the remaining flour bag, and then the rest of our ingredients, which is, we've got honey, we've got yeast, we got an olive oil pack. The only things we need right now are simply the yeast, honey, and our Poolish. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take a cup of water, which doesn't matter whether you have a cup like this or even a cup like this, it's still going to make a cup of water. So we put our cup of water in our bowl, and we're gonna put our yeast in. Now we're gonna put the yeast packet in here, and then we're gonna stir this up and kind of melt the yeast into the water. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get it to melt into the water and not become these little granules in there. So once we have it melted a little bit, you see how it's kind of now turning into a milky color?
That looks like chocolate milk.
It looks like chocolate milk?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we can add in the honey, and that's just gonna help the yeast kind of work faster.
Okay, Daddy.
There we go. And then we're gonna add all the flour in the Poolish bag. So now we're gonna simply just mix and incorporate this together.
I wanna mix it.
Here, we're gonna do... You wanna do it?
Yeah.
All right, here, go ahead. Keep mixing until it all gets mixed together.
This is hot.
That's hard work? You're doing a good job, buddy.
That's hot.
Yeah, are you done?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So now we're just gonna continue to mix it up.
I can't see really good.
See how everything's mixed up?
Yep. Dada, when I do this, see? I want JJ like this.
Oh, okay. So now everything's kind of mixed up and it kind of looks like pancake batter, right?
Yeah.
That means that it's good to go. We're gonna clean off our spoon.
Why you do it with your finger?
Well, because I want to get all of the stuff. I want to make sure that everything is still in the bowl. I'm trying to keep as much of it as I can in the bowl. I'm gonna go wash my hands real quick. And now we just cover it up.
Why we do that?
Well, because we're gonna let it sit for a while and do its job. Okay.
Good night, night.
Yeah. Good night, night. Well, it's not gonna be night, night. We're gonna let this sit for probably about 4, maybe 6 hours. It's like 8:30 a.m. our time. But the good news is that now I'm done for most of the day. There's not really a lot I have to do except let it kind of work on its own. We get to go to the beach and hang out. Does that sound like fun?
Okay, play Jingle Box.
You wanna play Jingle Box? Yeah. All right. All the directions you need, you could either scan this QR code on the back of the bag, or you can just simply go to our website, which is preppapizza.com. At the top, you'll see a link that says Pizziola class, and that's where you can get all the information and all the steps on how to do everything. But the process is really simple, and I'm gonna walk through it with you today anyways. So we're gonna let this sit, and we'll come back to it later today, but we're gonna go have some fun. Okay guys, I'm back. Now let's check this thing out. It's about 8:30 this morning that I started this, and if you look at that. The fermentation that is coming off of this is absolutely just bonkers. I'm gonna go through some of this stuff quick. We have everything in detail on our website. You can go to our Pizziola class and it'll walk you through everything. A lot more detail, a lot more time taken to actually do everything here. But for time constraints, because we're at the beach right now and we have dinner to be able to make later today, it's about 2 o'clock-ish, and I started this around 8:30 in the morning. So definitely have created some good fermentation going on here. So you can still do its dough in the same day, but you know, it's typically good to try and do it overnight. It also helps you out with the whole process of making the dough and making it not so sticky, because I'm doing this out. We've got humidity here. I've got the doors open here. I'll let you check it out so you can see. We got out here at the beach. I've got the beach air going on here. Just so you know, I haven't changed to some fancy restaurant kitchen or anything like that. So we'll go ahead and put this back down, and then I'll kind of walk you through the steps that we're gonna do here, which are still super simple. So I just put some water. There's only 2/3 a cup of water that's needed. I put about that in there so far, and a little bit more. And so what I'm gonna do is I wanna break all this up and kind of get it to a point where we can add in the rest of our stuff. And that's where we're at right this second. So basically I'm gonna make this where the water turns the color of the milk, and we're breaking up all of the bits here. It's no longer kind of a dough, it's more like kind of, I guess, a milk, if you will. But not real milk, there's no dairy in this, just good old fashioned dough. I'm breaking this up a little bit with my spoon, and then once it's broken up some, we'll actually go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients and we'll stir them in. Also, something we get a lot, people have been starting to add the semolina in there. This is for stretching out your dough, so you don't need this as part of the stuff to add in there. So we're gonna leave this off to the side, and we can use it later on with stretching the dough. I'm gonna do things a little bit different today, but still I'm gonna use the semolina to stretch it out. If you see, I'm breaking this up a good bit. Now we're at a point where we can start adding in the rest of our flour. This flour has everything else that you need already mixed in. Everything else, salt, and then we also put a diastatic malt powder, which is non-dairy, so it's not like milkshakes that you would get at an ice cream shop as a kid. Probably some of you kids don't know what a malt milkshake is, but for those of you who do, this malt is for baking. And what it does is it helps your yeast kind of activate even better, gets it a lot more excited, but two, it helps with browning. And so when you're using a home oven, browning is something that a lot of people don't really get as much when they're cooking pizza dough, because this flour is a white flour, and so it doesn't actually brown as well as like a red flour. So a lot of people in baking, they use red flour or a whole grain red flour, and that's what gives that brown color to a crust. Well, when you're in a home oven, you're making pizza, you can't necessarily always get that brown crust without a little bit of help. So we added a little bit of help in here, but still the same help works great when you're using a 900-degree oven, like a uni or a Ghazni, something like that. I'm gonna go ahead and stir this up just a little bit more, kind of get it just a little bit more broken up. You wanna be able to see it falling off the spoon, like that. And you see how it's not big clumps anymore. It's now kind of just almost fully broken up. And that's a good point where we can start adding in the rest of our stuff. Go ahead and cut this bag open. I'll use a knife this time. My son told me earlier that it was not good that I used my teeth. So I'm using a knife this time to cut open the bag. Now, the cool part about all of this is, you see I'm up here kind of doing this, and it's not really taking me a lot of time. The best part about making pizza dough is that you can make amazing pizza dough, but you don't have to watch it like a baby. My wife and kids, they're out at the beach having a good time. I was out there earlier. I came back in. I'm now fixing the dough, and guess what? I'm gonna put this all together, and then once it's together and ready to go, I'm gonna let it rest for an hour. That's another hour I can go and hang out. And realistically, that hour is kind of arbitrary, because I could do that for 1, 2, 3 hours. It doesn't matter. Like, the best part about dough is that the more time you give it, the better it's gonna come out. You don't really have to do a lot of extra stuff. What I'm gonna do now is, now that I'm kind of incorporating all of this stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and add in my olive oil, and then I can start mixing by hand. So once we get to this point right here, where you see everything is kind of incorporated, this is a good time to start mixing everything by hand. So I wanna add in the olive oil packet that we have, and just so you know, all these ingredients we give you are organic ingredients and they're whole. So when you get a packet of olive oil from us, it just says olive oil on it, no extra stuff. When you're using our flour, it's just white flour, that's it. There's no extra additives or anything like that. When we say diastatic malt powder, it's literally that. We try and make this as health conscious as possible with the best ingredients you could possibly get. So now I'm gonna take all of this off the spoon, and with one hand, I'm just gonna sit here and mix everything together. Let's get it up there. until I get it into kind of a full ball. And the goal is I want to get everything that's in here incorporated enough to where it no longer is part of the bowl. And what this is called is mixing it to combine it. So we're just combining all the ingredients and trying to get everything together into a cohesive ball here. And then we're gonna let it rest for some time. But you see, I'm mostly getting everything. You see how the bowl is kind of becoming clean. It's mostly getting rid of all of the stuff. It's okay if your hands get a little bit dirty. That's part of the fun of dough making. You can't really have a day where you're not gonna have a little bit of dirty hands, and that's okay. So we're just kind of going here. We're just making everything come together until it gets to a point where everything is nice. You see how it's just pulling away, and you got a whole ball of dough here. At this point right here, I'm good to cover it back up, and I'm gonna let it rest for a little bit. And what that's going to do, going to help develop gluten, and not the kind of gluten that gives you, those stomach pains, but the goal behind developing gluten is you're developing the stretch in your dough. When you're doing that, you see how it's pulling away and it's breaking apart. Eventually, we're gonna be able to pick it up and it won't pull away and break apart anymore. If you see, I'm just simply turning my hand in the bowl. That's all I'm doing. Turning my hand, turning my hand, turning my hand, turning my hand. This is just mixing everything together until I get it all nice and together. And just so you know, it's super humid in here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close that door and I'm gonna crank on the AC, because if you can control the weather of your dough, it's always gonna turn out better. You see how this is super sticky right now? And even though you're gonna get it to a point where it's a little bit sticky like this, I'm gonna show you how you can come back and it's gonna come back nice and clean. But the first thing you wanna do is try and work in a controlled environment. If it's 90 plus degrees where you live and you're doing all of this outside, you're gonna turn up with a dough that's very, very sticky, because you're gonna be in a place where more than likely the humidity is much higher, and so you're actually rehydrating your dough and making it much harder to work with. For this though, we're right now just kind of working everything together. It's all combined. You see how, look how the bottom of the bowl here is basically almost clean. And that's what you want to see. So now I'm gonna just kind of work it around so I can get the rest of the bits off the side here. And then we're gonna just simply put it back in the bowl. I have most everything off the bowl. If you see, look, watch. When I pull it away, you see how it's pulling away and you can see the clean bowl? That's a good indicator that everything is combined very well. And now we're gonna let it rest a little bit. The best part about dough making is that there's times for making the dough and there's times for resting the dough. So when you're resting the dough, you're just letting it do all of its magic and work to get to the point where you want it, where you're ready to actually bake it. All of this are super simple steps. If you notice, this video isn't really long, and I'm probably talking way too much. Someone's gonna go back and edit all of this stuff up for you guys. But the point behind this is that you're just doing all of this work with a very short amount of time, and then now you can go and be about your day, continue to have fun. You don't have to sit here and watch this. This isn't some kind of little baby that needs to be fed or burped or anything like that. It's literally something that's going to do its own job. And the best part about dough is it's really, really hard to mess up. The only way you're gonna really mess this up is adding too much water. That's probably the biggest thing. So if you add too much water, you're now creating soup. And so you just have to be careful about the amount of water that you've added and making sure you follow the directions. But other than that, realistically, everything will come together. And also, even if you added too much water, it's nothing that more flour wouldn't help. There are ways to fix it, and that's kind of the best part about this too. Anyways, I'm gonna cover this up and I will see you guys here a little bit later. Okay, so we're back and let's take a look at this dough. You can see here, see how it's kind of changed a little bit more texture. See how it's pulling away a lot better, but it's still not 100% there yet, and we're gonna get it there. All you need is a little bit of extra water. Just go ahead and wet your hands and you can pull it right out of the bowl. But you see how, look, I'm just lifting with my hand, lifting, 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 boom. Same thing with my hands again. See how smooth it's getting right now? Look at that. That's all I'm doing is literally lifting it, picking up, pulling together. Picking up, pulling together. Look at how smooth that is. You see? Picking up, pulling together. Picking up, pulling together. Up like this, down. And now you're developing gluten. Now you see right here, it's starting to rip. That's when you know that it's time to leave it alone again. So we're gonna go ahead and just simply roll it into a ball. A semi-ball here, and that's okay. If it gets sticky to your hands, add a little bit more water to your hands. Now, pull it away. You see how it's come together? We're gonna let this rest for maybe another 30 minutes. We'll come back to it and then we'll ball it up. All right, see you then. So about 30 minutes has passed by, maybe a little bit longer, but look, see how it's nice and ready to go? Once again, just use a little bit more water on your hands and we'll go ahead and ball this up. But guess what I don't have here? Don't have a fancy dough knife. So what am I gonna do with this dough? Like, how could I possibly cut this dough in half without a fancy dough knife? You know, or a dough cutter or a dough scraper. You can just use a standard kitchen knife, just like so. We'll go ahead and we'll just cut it away. Now, it doesn't give you the same thing. It's probably cutting it a little bit worse, but we'll go ahead and cut it away with that. But look, you see, it still came apart. Everything is still fine. That's just a normal knife. Oh, and yeah, I got those ripples in there, but guess what? I'm about to ball this up, so it really doesn't make much of a difference. Now, what I'm gonna do here is a little bit different stuff. I'm gonna do just 2 today because I'm gonna make more like of a focaccia style pizza. One dough ball here we're gonna do is a little bit thinner, longer pan, and the other one is gonna be more of a thicker focaccia style. But if you see, like, look, it's just coming together nice and easy, and we want to form it into a ball. This isn't the only way of doing it. You could sit here and do a little bit of this. You know, just kind of pull it together until it creates a ball. That's that. You could cut this into 4, you could cut this into 6. You know, it's kind of up to you. These are pretty big. These are probably over 500 grams a piece, maybe more. Don't know exact weight right now because I don't have the scale, but that's what you would do. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna transfer these to a tray and do things a little bit different today. Since I don't really need the semolina to stretch them out too much, I am gonna use a lot more olive oil, which is not something that we have in our kit, but obviously most people have olive oil at their house. If not, you could go buy more olive oil and you could make these pizzas. I'm gonna put both on this pan and in this pan. A little bit more olive oil. And we're gonna make a couple of pan pizzas, which 1, my family loves right now, and 2, it turns out really great. We're gonna go and just drizzle some olive oil on both of these. Right on there. We're gonna do 1 in there, 1 in there. And that's it. A little bit of olive oil on top, a little olive oil on top. And we're gonna kind of stretch these up later. But basically we wanna create them to be the size of the pan here. And we'll do that here in just a little. So if you see the 2 pans, and this is just an olive oil, it's kind of extra light. It really doesn't matter if you wanna go fancy with your olive oil, by all means do whatever you wanna do there. I'm just doing it because that's what I have available. Don't think of this product as like, oh my God, you have to have this specific one. It's not gonna taste any better or worse. This is just a lighter extra virgin olive oil. That's it. You do what you want. Also, make sure that you cover these because you'll need to make sure that they don't dry out. So you don't want them to dry out. You cover them up, which you could do that with a board, or you could do something like that. This one, because it's a little bit shallower, see how it's shallow? It's still a pretty deep pan. You might want to make sure that you just cover this with like some film or something like that. You know, that's why we put the olive oil on top. That way the film doesn't stick to it. Here, pull it.
Ooh, I got it.
Just a little bit. Gentle, gentle. There you go. You're doing a good job.